Picture this. October 8th, 1918. The Argonne Forest, France. Machine gun fire rips through the morning fog. Bodies drop like wheat before a scythe. And somewhere in that hell, a Tennessee farm boy who didn't even want to fight is about to pull off the impossible. One American. 132 German prisoners. This actually happened. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Military History Magazine's September 2006 issue, featuring Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Mastriano's research into German archival materials from Stuttgart, Freiburg, Potsdam, Rottweil, and Ulm, as well as the 1929 Reichsarchive investigation, which interviewed surviving German officers of the 2nd Württemberg Landwehr Division. Now back to the information. His father worked iron and farmed. When Alvin was 9 months old, that's all the schooling he got. 9 months. The family needed him hunting, fishing, working. The Tennessee mountains taught him one skill that mattered: how to shoot. Not just shoot. How to drop a turkey at 100 yards. How to put a bullet through a squirrel's head without thinking about it. Takes a job on the railways at Harriman, Tennessee, still drinking hard, still fighting. Until 1914, when his best friend gets killed in a bar fight. That death hits York like a bullet. He finds religion, joins the Church of Christ and Christian Union, swears off violence completely. Then April 6th, 1917. America enters the war. York gets his draft notice, claims conscientious objector status. The government looks at his church. It's not officially recognized. Status denied. They ship him to Camp Gordon, Georgia. Company G, 328th Infantry Regiment, 82nd Division, the All-American Division. They spend hours debating scripture. York goes home to Pall Mall for 10 days leave, prays on the mountain, wrestles with God, comes back changed. If God wants him to fight, he'll fight. This isn't just another battle. It's the largest American operation of the war. 1.2 million U.S. troops, 26 September through 11 November. The goal? Break the Hindenburg Line, end the war. 4 years to sight their guns, 4 years to turn every valley into a killing field. The forest is 20 miles long, 10 miles wide, hills, ravines, swamps, perfect defensive terrain, terrible for attackers. The 2nd Württemberg Landwehr Division holds the line at Châtel-Chehery. 3 regiments, the 120th, 122nd, 125th. Lieutenant Paul Jürgen Vollmer commands 1st Battalion, 120th Regiment. His men are from Ulm. Before the war, Vollmer was an assistant postmaster. Now he's trying to hold a crumbling line. Whoever controls Castle Hill controls this sector of the Argonne. The Germans know it. The Americans know it. Both sides bleed for it. Take the Decauville Railroad, cut the German supply line. The attack launches at 0610 hours. No artillery preparation. Someone forgot to tell the guns. 3 sides of the valley. It's a death trap. York described it. The Germans got us, and they got us right smart. They just stopped us dead in our tracks. Their machine guns were up there on the heights overlooking us and well hidden. Our boys just went down like the long grass before the mowing machine at home. 17 Americans total, crawling through the underbrush looking for a gap, right into a German battalion command post. The Americans burst in, Germans throwing up hands, shouting, "Kamerad!" 3 wounded, including Sergeant Early. York's the only NCO left standing. 8 Americans, still functional against over 100 Germans. His Springfield rifle speaks. 1 shot, 1 kill. The turkey hunting pays off. 25 Germans drop. Here's the thing about shooting turkeys. You shoot the back ones first. That way the front ones don't scatter. York starts with the 6th man, then the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Endress is last, 25 yards away. York puts a 45 slug in him. Endress goes down screaming. Lieutenant Vollmer can't believe what he's seeing. This one American has killed over 20 of his men. Machine gun crews wiped out. His friend Endress dying in agony. Vollmer lived in Chicago before the war. Speaks English. In the middle of the firefight, he stands up, walks toward York. "English?" He shouts. "No, not English," York replies. "What?" "American." Lieutenant Carl Glass of the 120th arrives at the command post, sees the surrender, becomes a prisoner. Lieutenant Kubler's platoon, moving to reinforce, walks right into York's position. They surrender. He orders his men forward with fixed bayonets, yells at the prisoners not to remove their equipment belts. York shoves his pistol into Vollmer's back. Make them surrender. Vollmer shouts that resistance is useless. They're surrounded. Thoma demands to know on whose responsibility. Vollmer takes it all on himself. Thoma's men join the prisoners. They start marching back through German lines. 132 prisoners. York's answer became legend. Honest Lieutenant, I don't know. York also captured 35 machine guns. The German counterattack to retake Castle Hill never happens. Next, the remnant of 4th Company and personnel from the 210th Regiment were caught by this surprise attack. where Lieutenant Endres was killed. The company was shattered or was captured. Also, First Lieutenant Vollmer ended up in the enemy's hands. Now the situation was worse. At 10:30, exactly when the German counterattack should have launched, withdrawal orders arrive instead. The Americans have broken through. The German Fifth Army pulls back to the Hindenburg Line. The 120th Regiment report states, "In the evening of 9-10 October, the regiment departed from the Argonne. The German soldiers gave so much after hard battles since 1914, more than 80,000 dead were left here." Receives the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, French Croix de Guerre. The Saturday Evening Post runs his story in April 1919. He returns home a national hero, marries Gracie Williams, has 7 children. Gary Cooper wins an Oscar playing him in 1941. The Germans investigate. 1929, the Reichsarchive interviews survivors from the 2nd Württemberg Landwehr. Their conclusion? York's account corresponds with the facts. Though they quibble about numbers, German records show only 79 prisoners lost in that sector that day, not 132. But multiple American witnesses counted them. Lieutenant Woods counted them. Iron Cross 1st and 2nd class. Knight's Cross. After the war, he goes back to being a postmaster in Stuttgart. When the Reichsarchive asks for his statement in 1929, he doesn't want to give it. When he finally does, he insists there must have been more Americans. Can't accept that so few captured so many. Pieces together the German side of the story from archives in Stuttgart, Freiburg, Potsdam, Rottweil, Ulm. October 2008, the 90th anniversary, France dedicates monuments where York fought. The exact spot verified by artifacts. Shell casings, uniform buttons, German and American. The ground still holds the evidence. Men packed like sardines below deck, vomit and fear. York writes in his diary about trusting God to get them through. They dock at Liverpool, then to France. He'd never been more than 50 miles from home before this. British Enfield rifles replace their Springfields. York hates them. Less accurate, he says. The Greeks and Italians in his unit can barely shoot. York spends hours on the range with them. His squad mates include Murray Savage from New York, he'll die in the Argonne, and Harry Parsons from Brooklyn, a vaudeville actor before the war. Imagine that, a Tennessee mountain man and a Broadway performer sharing a trench. York's first real combat. The Germans retreat so fast the Americans can barely keep up. York sees his first dead Germans, writes in his diary, "I tried to pray for them. The Argonne is different. The Germans aren't retreating here, they're dug in deep." Let me paint you the full picture of October 8th, the German side first. General Max von Gallwitz commands the army group. He's worried about 3 threats that morning. First, the lost battalion. 590 Americans from the 77th Division trapped behind German lines since October 2nd. They won't surrender. German attacks fail. American relief attempts fail. Both sides bleeding out over this one pocket. Second threat, the 82nd and 28th Divisions pushing into the eastern Argonne. If they break through, they cut German communications. Third and worst, the main American push in the Meuse Valley. General John Pershing has thrown the bulk of First Army there. Target, Sedan, 30 miles north. Cut that, you cut the main German supply artery. They're scraping together reserves. 1st Guard Infantry Division elements, part of the 52nd Reserve. The 210th and 212th from the 45th Reserve. Machine gun sharpshooters from regiments, 47 and 58. But here's what York doesn't know that morning. The German chain of command is already cracking. Captain Heinrich Miller commands the defense of Castle Hill. Battalion Miller. They call his unit a hodgepodge of the 125th Württemberg, the Guard Elizabeth Battalion, pieces of the 47th Machine Gun Company. They fought all through October 7th, pushed back to Castle Hill's western slope, held on through the night, barely. Lieutenant Fritz Endres, 4th Company commander under Vollmer, spots gaps in their line the night before, sends his platoon leader, Lieutenant Karl Kubler, to check. Kubler comes back worried. "I regard our situation as very dangerous, for the Americans could easily pass through the gaps in the sector of the 2nd Machine Gun Company and gain our rear." He wants to plug the gap. Vollmer orders him to hold position. Fatal mistake. York's 17-man patrol moves out in the pre-dawn darkness. The men include Sergeant Bernard Early commanding, Sergeant Harry Parsons, who gives Early the order, Corporal Murray Savage, Corporal York, Private George Wills, Private Marian Domowski, a Polish immigrant who barely speaks English, Private Ralph Weiler, Private Fred Waring, Private William Wins, Private Michael Sakina, an Italian who joined for citizenship, Private Patrick Donahue, Private George Wall, Private Carl Swanson, Private Percy Beardsley, Private Joe Konatsky, and 2 others whose names the record's lost. 17 men against what's coming. They move through the fog, using noise from the late artillery barrage as cover. The German morning routine saves them. Units changing position, messengers running between posts. In the confusion, 17 Americans walk through a gap that shouldn't exist. The command post they stumble into sits in a hollow between hills. The Prussian 210th arrived exhausted after a night march. 70 men wolfing down black bread and ersatz coffee. Rifles stacked in pyramids. Machine guns still limbered. Vollmer's there to coordinate. The attack on Castle Hill, planned for 10:30 hours, needs these fresh troops. The hollow is overlooked by Humpster Hill. Up there, machine gun crews from the 4th and 6th Companies, 125th Regiment, have perfect fields of fire. Dies instantly. Corporal Murray Savage, York's friend, got shot. Takes him 20 minutes to die, screaming. Private wins, shot through the head. Sergeant Early, multiple wounds, tries to keep commanding until he passes out. Corporal Cutting Otis, shot in the arm and hip. Private Donahue, bullets in both legs. He brings up riflemen to supplement the machine guns, tells them to aim carefully. The German gunners are in fixed positions. To shoot down at him, they have to expose their heads above the parapet, just for a second. But a second is all York needs. The rifle becomes part of his body. Breathe in, breathe out, squeeze between heartbeats. A German helmet appears, York fires, the helmet drops, another appears. Same result. He's not aiming for helmets. He's aiming for the spot where a head must be. How is one American doing this? They're trained soldiers, veterans of 4 years combat, but they're fighting by European rules. Mass fire, volume of bullets. York's fighting by Tennessee rules. 1 shot, 1 kill. Don't waste ammunition. Organizes the bayonet charge. 6 men. It's not heroic. It's desperation. They know they're probably going to die, but maybe they kill this American devil first. York sees them coming. Counts. 6. His rifle holds 5 rounds. He fires the last 5, drops the rifle, draws his .45 before the brass hits the ground. At 25 yards, it hits like a sledgehammer. The 6th German is 10 yards away when York shoots him, then the 5th. The mathematics of death, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Endres sees his men falling backward toward him, realizes what's happening, tries to zigzag. York puts one through his stomach at 5 yards. Remember, he lived in America, worked in Chicago before the war. His English is perfect. If you won't shoot anymore, I will make them give up. York. Well, then do it. The machine gunners come down. York keeps his pistol trained on Vollmer the whole time. First, he doesn't speak German. Second, the German front line is between him and safety. Germans won't shoot their own officers, and the wounded Americans are protected in the middle of the column. Too late. Americans surround them. Vollmer orders Kubler to surrender. More prisoners. If Thoma attacks, it's a bloodbath. Prisoners might join in. York jams the .45 harder into Vollmer's back. 1 word. Talk. Vollmer takes it all. I will take responsibility. Thoma's 20 men join the column. 110, 120, 132. Next, the remnant of 4th Company and personnel from the 210th Regiment were caught by this surprise attack, where Lieutenant Endres was killed. The company was shattered or was captured. By evening, orders arrived from 5th Army, withdraw to the Hindenburg Line. The Argonne is lost, the regiment's final entry. In the evening of 9-10 October, the regiment departed from the Argonne. The German soldiers gave so much after hard battles since 1914, more than 80,000 dead were left here. Fearlessly leading 7 men, he charged with great daring a machine gun nest which was pouring deadly and incessant fire upon his platoon. In this heroic feat, the machine gun nest was taken, together with 4 officers and 128 men and several guns. York's Medal of Honor says 128. Woods counted 132. German records say 79 missing in that sector. Does it matter? 1 man changed a battle. York goes back to his unit, fights until November 1st, 10 days before the armistice. Then, a Saturday Evening Post writer named George Patullo finds the report, tracks down York in April 1919. The story explodes. Every newspaper in America runs it. York comes home to a New York ticker tape parade, offered fortune for his story, movie deals, vaudeville, product endorsements. He turns down almost everything. Takes some money to start a school for mountain children, the York Industrial Institute, because that's what matters to him. Not killing Germans, teaching kids. Vollmer goes back to Stuttgart, back to sorting mail. In 1929, when the Reichsarchive investigates, he still can't accept it. Insists there must have been more Americans. Dies believing that. Because accepting the truth means accepting that everything he believed about war, about courage, about military superiority, all of it fell apart in 20 minutes to a Tennessee farm boy who didn't want to be there. October 2008, 90th anniversary, dedication of the York Trail, 2 monuments marking the spot, thousands of artifacts recovered, shell casings, buttons, German Mauser rounds, American 30-06, 45 ACP pistol brass, the ground remembers. James Gregory from the University of Oklahoma studied the site. So did teams from France, Belgium, Germany. Archaeological surveys, metal detection, soil sampling, every piece of evidence points to the same spot. 49 degrees, 17 minutes, 8 seconds north. 4 degrees, 57 minutes, 9 seconds east. That's where it happened. Everything about him says he should have died in that valley. Instead, he lived when killers died, won when warriors lost. Military science says York's patrol should have been slaughtered. Instead, York took their entire position. Not through tactics, not through technology, through marksmanship so precise it broke their will to fight. Too old at 54, overweight, diabetic. So he tours training camps, tells young soldiers his story, not the killing part, the faith part, how God protected him, how he prayed for every German he shot. Thousands attend. By then, the movie has made him immortal. Gary Cooper's version, Hollywood heroics. York hated it, too much glory, not enough God. But he used the money for his school, always practical. In military archives across Germany, Stuttgart, Freiburg, Potsdam, Rottweil, Ulm, sit reports written by men who were there. Lieutenant Glass's account, Thoma's statement, unit war diaries. They all say the same thing. It happened. One American. 132 prisoners. The 29th Infantry Division Association interviewed survivors in the 1960s. Old men by then, still confused, still insisting there must have been more Americans, because accepting York's story means accepting that war isn't what they thought. That sometimes God and a good eye beat all the military science in the world. That's at the ranges York described, with the weapons he carried. The physics work, the archaeology works, the documents work, from the jump-off point, through the gap, to the command post, up to the machine gun positions, back to American lines, every step documented, every position verified. The field of fire, the dead ground, the angles, and they understand this shouldn't have been possible, but the evidence is absolute. Shell casings in situ, impact scars on trees, uniform buttons, equipment fragments. The earth holds the truth. It's the counting. York counted everything. Rounds fired, Germans killed, prisoners taken, distance walked. He approached war like hunting. Every shot deliberate, every target necessary. No waste, no glory, just efficiency. A job to do. Rank, unit, hometown. 21-year-old machine gunner Heinrich Müller from Ulm, Sergeant Wilhelm Braun from Stuttgart, Corporal Franz Weber from Rottweil, boys who'd survived 4 years of hell, killed in 20 minutes by a man who prayed while he shot them. York prayed between shots, not for victory, for forgiveness. Each time he worked the bolt on his Springfield, each time he thumbed the safety on his Colt. A prayer. Lord have mercy, 25 prayers, 25 headshots, faith and marksmanship intertwined. The 210th Prussian Reserve Regiment survivors were folded into other units, never reconstituted. The 120th Landwehr limped through the last month of war, bled white. The 7th Bavarian sappers ended the war in captivity. Thoma survived, went home to Munich. Never spoke of it. Lived to 90. Private Donahue, shot in both legs, walked with a limp forever, went back to Boston, became a streetcar conductor, never talked about the war. Private Wills farmed in Oklahoma. Private Muzzy returned to Italy. The others dispersed, forgotten. Only York became famous. Because the story was impossible. 1 against 132. A conscientious objector who became a warrior. A pacifist who killed with precision. A barely educated hillbilly who outsmarted German officers. Every contradiction America wanted to believe about itself. Look at the facts. October 8th, 1918, 0610 hours to approximately 0830 hours. In 2 hours and 20 minutes, one American corporal killed 25 enemy soldiers, captured 132, destroyed a battalion command post, prevented a regimental counterattack, and opened a gap that led to German withdrawal from the Argonne Forest. The archaeological evidence proves it. The survivors testified to it. It happened exactly as York said, which makes it worse for military theorists. Because if York could do this, what else that we believe about war is wrong? In 1929, they investigated, formally, officially. The Reichsarchive pulled records, interviewed survivors, analyzed the terrain. Their conclusion? York did what he claimed. The investigation found minor discrepancies, 79 prisoners versus 132, but confirmed the essential truth. One American broke their line. Because 17 Americans really did infiltrate their position. 6 really did die in the first minutes. York really did command the 7 survivors. And those 8 Americans really did capture a force 17 times their size. York came home to 800 acres of bottom land given by Tennessee, a house from Nashville Rotary, marriage to Gracie Williams, 7 kids. He ran for county tax assessor, lost, tried farming, failed. The school he founded survived him. Generations of mountain kids got education because a warrior chose teaching over killing. Anything but the war. He'd say, a man does what he has to, then tries to forget it. The earth gives back what it took, proof that the impossible happened. It shouldn't have worked. Every military manual says so. Every tactical principle argues against it. But shell casings don't lie. Impact patterns tell truth. Geography remembers what men forget. Because Volmer chose surrender over slaughter. Because Toma accepted responsibility rather than risk massacre. Because sometimes, in the madness of war, individual choices matter more than all the plans and preparations. The German survivors spent 46 years trying to understand it. Both failed. Some events resist forgetting. Some stories demand remembering, not for glory, for truth. Because if one man could do this, what else is possible? 132 captured, 35 machine guns silenced, 2 hours 20 minutes, 8 Americans, 1 impossible morning, all documented, all verified, all true. Cold fact. In the Argonne Forest, October 8, 1918, between 0610 and 0830 hours, Acting Corporal Alvin Cullum York of Pall Mall, Tennessee, proved that sometimes the impossible happens. Sometimes one man is enough. Sometimes a Tennessee farm boy who didn't miss